Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today. Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this essay as you would a radio broadcast. In this presentation, I'd like to talk about a trip your intrepid journalist Tacitus made into the city a few days ago. This is into Sydney City in Australia. Now, I live a little bit further out, so the outer fringes of the burbs, but and we wanted to live near forest and that sort of stuff, and we didn't want to see high-rise buildings or concrete jungles anywhere. So, and that was our lifestyle preference. So I caught the train in. I had a few appointments in the city, and I had to get in there pretty early. So I was on the train, just before 7 and traveling into the CBD. Now, but at about say 30 miles, give or take, at about 30 miles, say 40 odd kilometers out from the city centre, there was an abrupt change in the demographics. And the demographic, the further out you are, the fewer, the more you see white majorities. And then the further you get towards the city, you see an increase in or a decrease rather in white people. So by the time you get to about give or take 40 kilometres from the Sydney CBD, there's an abrupt switch. You're suddenly looking at quite small numbers of white people. By the time you get to sort of 25 kilometres from the city centre, you're lucky to see any white people. There's a packed train platform, and the train platform may be 300 metres long. There's a packed platform. You maybe see 2 or 3 white people. That's it. And they're not young people. They're older people. 50 plus, say. In the train carriage, it's quite common that you may be, again, 1 or 2 white people in the carriage. If the number of white people in the train carriage even gets to 20% of the total, that's the upper end of what you see. So, and the closer you get into the city, the more you see the minorities appear. And again, I can be the only white guy in the train carriage, which seems quite astonishing. Again, 25 years ago, you'd be looking at only 1 or 2 brown people in the carriage. Now they're 98, 99% of the total. That's how quick and how fast the demographic change. And remember, it's been forced on us. We never asked for it. We never agreed to it. We never voted for it. We're constantly being lied to about, oh yeah, we're cutting back on this. Oh, it's skilled people with skills. Only the most skilled people are being brought in, when all you see around you are illiterate peasants. So now here's a few things that got me, and I've made mention of some of these things before. The vast majority of the people, particularly as you get closer into the city, are third world midgets. We're talking mostly women who are not even 5 foot tall. And they're peasants. You can tell from the deformed limbs, and they've got the most examples of really bad rickets and real knee and ankle problems and foot problems and the way they waddle around, lower back problems, that sort of thing. So these people, how do they pick these people? They're English. They only speak in whatever language that of their genetic origin. They're not speaking English, and if they do speak English into a mobile phone, it's heavily accented. So there's all these midgets running around with serious health problems. Again, looking at those needs, I've done a lot of traveling around the third world on business, and again, some of the richest people in the world are actually third world, mafia goons and so on, but and own multinational businesses. But so I've seen this all over the third world. These serious knee and ankle problems, lower back problems, and various deformities. Now, as the weather gets warmer here and people start, instead of wearing trousers, they're wearing skirts, these midget women, you see just how many of them have these deformed knees. And we're not talking the odd one here or there, but we're talking shitloads. Now, how do you select migrants. Now we're told that only migrants that speak good English and have skills. They're all triple PhD engineers, and here are these. Given the way, again, I've got a lot of experience going through. I know what peasants look like, how they walk, how they act, their mannerisms, and so on. So these people are clearly peasants. Now the peasants are pretty much universally illiterate in their own language in these places. Given their height and build, they're probably rural as well. I'd almost bet on it. And yet there are gazillions of them all around Sydney. So how do they? What's the selection process? Well, you have to be under 5 foot tall. You have to be illiterate, and you must have serious health problems and serious knee deformities and other. And so is that the selection process? As long as you're a midget, you don't speak a word of English, you're a complete peasant, and you have no qualification, you've never even been to school, then you're in. We want you in Australia. Is that how it works? Because I can't imagine how these people get in as a migrant in any merit system. Are they coming in? Are they scamming it through labour hire firms? Are they scamming it through supposed education scams? Such as the 6-week course on painting nails. I can't imagine women this unattractive and this deformed could be engaging in prostitution. I don't know. Maybe they do. I wouldn't imagine so. But they certainly didn't look like that they were doing it. But anyway, they're just everywhere. And now I'm sort of 6'2", so it seems that they're like mega midgets. Again, many of them, lots and lots, not just one or two, are not even 5 foot tall. And Asian and brown. So where are they getting these people from? Is there a specific thing saying only midget women with serious health problems are allowed in? This is crazy. There's no quality control going on. None. Now maybe they're not needed to work in sort of proper real jobs. Maybe they're supposed to work in this globalist contrived artificial economy. So anyway, after having been, again, the only white person in the carriage, the final journey, this was around what's known in Sydney as the city circle. It's just like where the train loops around the city. And this is like in the business district where you'd expect to see, like the upmarket business district where you'd expect to see a large number of white people. But even there, what white people were I'm one of them. It was 20% of the population of the carriage. So I think there was 18. There was. I made a note of it. 18 people in that section of the carriage we were in, and 4 white people, of which I was one. So anyway, we get into the train stop that I want, which is in the CBD. And I'm a little bit early, so I think, well, I'll take a walk around the if you like, the shopping strip, which is where cafes and takeout food shops and other sort of trashy type retail places are. There used to be upmarket places here, upmarket jewelry stores, upmarket clothing shops, that sort of thing. It used to be quite sort of upmarket and boutique-y, and no more. So I did the long walk around. Now it was around 600 meters to do the loop around on this sort of these arcades, and it looped back around to a street I wanted to get on. So then I'll just take it. So I had a look, and I was looking for the personnel, the employment makeup of all these little shops. Again, many of them take out food stores, cafes, that sort of thing. None of them upmarket. They're not dealing to an exclusive clientele. So I walked around there. Now I was looking for are there any white people working in these places? Any? Just one will do. But I couldn't find one. Now in every shop, they're Asian or Indian. In every, Chinese, Filipino, Indian, that sort of thing. There was not a single white person working. So this is where a lot of these 4 foot 10 inch tall handicapped midgets go to work. Are they being deliberately imported to do this? I would suspect so. I would suspect through labour hire scams. I can't believe that immigration department be signing off on this. Why would you bring so many people in here that obviously have serious health problems? Now, while they're youngish, the health problems ain't going to show up, but in another 10 years, all of these people are going to need a lot of medical treatment just to be able to walk around. By the time they're 50, they'll probably be immobilized, given the handicaps they've already got. But nonetheless, so I walked around and covered. I mean, I don't know how many shops you'd cover. Like, this is two sides of the thing, in 600 plus meters, but there was a lot of shops. Not one white person working in any of these shops. Now, I would argue that none of these shops, the takeout food shops and so on, I would argue that none of them are viable businesses. None of them are economically viable. They don't bring enough business in through the door. They don't have enough customers, and they're not able to pay the government mandated minimum hourly wages. So they have to use labour hire scams to bring third world peasants in, and these people are peasants. Make no mistake about that. They're not engineer PhDs, right? No, far from it. They're illiterate peasants from the third world that are brought in to work in. So this has created this massive artificial economy that can't exist without large scale law breaking and again labour hire scams. Now these people I would imagine. Well, not imagine, they do. They live, 20 to a 2-bedroom apartment, and the 2-bedroom apartment is owned by the gangster money men from the third world that own the takeout food shops, and they don't just own one or two takeout food shops. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a dozen takeout food shops along that strip that's owned by the one gangster or more. And they just pack the people into these apartments, these peasants into the apartments, and bring them out to work all day at these places. And you see some media articles that say, well, okay, so what, they're being exploited, so what, they're being screwed, so what, the businesses aren't viable, so what. These people are having a better life than they would have as third world peasants in some rural mud hut or something like that. And I guess they got a point with that, but that's not the material issue here. None of those businesses would survive. Excuse me. None of those businesses would survive or even exist without this illegal peasant slave labour. And this is what we're talking about here. Now, on top of that, every billboard that I saw, that looked at, whether it be in the train stations or around the place, is engaging in some form of race, gender hustling. For example, heavy promotion of women's football. Nobody watches fucking women's football, but because we don't watch women's football, then that means it's a nation of patriarchal, misogynist oppressors, and something must be done about that. Look how much work we have to do. Nobody's watching this crap game, and so the reason I'm not watching the crap game is because they're all fucking Hitler, and we got to fight back against that. So wall-to-wall advertising everywhere you look, shaming and blaming those evil Nazi men for not watching this crap game of women's fucking football. But there's that sort of propaganda is everywhere. Any advertising of education of any form always features black or brown chicks, and so you'd think there wasn't a single white person in Australia. In fact, if you're walking around Sydney, I am starting to think that now. So that sort of advertising and promotion and that white people actually don't exist. You'd think that Australia was already 100% black or brown, just looking at the advertising, unless they're advertising lesbians, and then white women are permissible, but not otherwise. So now, on top of that, the announcer, on the train saying, well, this is the next train station. The train will be stopping at station such and such, and the following station after that will be so and so, that type of thing. The guy could barely speak English, and I had to really listen, and I couldn't. And you got to really listen and think, okay, what's he talking about here? Now, only because I know the architecture of the train lines, I've got some, I know where the train stops. I only think, what he means is so and so. Okay, all right. Now, was it not possible for the transport authorities to find someone that speaks understandable English? I mean, couldn't they do it in a country where English is the language? they have to find someone that can't speak English or speaks it so badly can't understand it. I get better quality English in the train lines in places like Singapore. I had to tune my ear into it, by the way, or Malaysia or something like that. And you have to listen, but that the quality of the English spoken there was worse than that. And that's in a foreign country, and this is Australia, for goodness sakes. And they couldn't find someone who could speak English. Really. And I wonder whether that's a form of humiliation. Are they just trying? They just want to illustrate, hey, white people, you've got no say at all in what happens around here anymore. We, the globalists, decide, and we will tell you, we will force it on you. If you don't like it, we'll put you in prison. So if you look at all this, every imposed government regime anywhere in the world has, if they can't get people on their side quickly, they kill them. And I wonder sometimes how close we are to that as the globalists increase their vice-like grip on the Western world. That can't be far away in my view, but nonetheless, let's come back to the. So, and there are announcers in the various train platforms, train stations, where the announcer says, this train is going to so and so and stopping at, and, those sort of announcements. Train on platform 1, and again, the majority of those people don't speak English well enough that I could understand what they were saying, and I think, what? Again, all these people that don't speak English well enough that you can understand them. This is insane. And I'm experienced. I'm multilingual and experienced at listening to different languages and understanding it and tuning my ear in, but I couldn't follow it. So I don't know how someone else could. So now I walked past an office of one of the big multinational consulting firms. They're huge, they employ gazillions of people. They're also, huge movers of, they're really super on board with the globalist project, and they're involved. They bring as many brown and black people into Australia as they can, and they get these government project work, and they declare they can't find any of the necessary skills in Australia, which is an outrageous lie, by the way. And they have to go to third world peasant countries to get these skills, which again is just beyond absurd. But that's the game that's being played these days. Now, I would have thought that going past, this is the head office I'm walking past now, I would have thought that would have been majority white. But I was walking back from I'd finished my appointments, I was walking past it at lunchtime. And so, and I was watching, and I even stopped for a moment just to observe. And the building, then they have the whole building. The building was disgorging vast numbers of people. And again, very few of them were white. I would think management, given the sharp suits and so on. And again, the majority of those, talk about hypocritical. Majority of those are older, straight white males, obviously on good incomes and wearing sharp suits and coming out. But the rest are all, mostly women and mostly black or brown. I'm sure they're just there for the window dressing effect. And again, taxpayer money is being thrown at these big organisations just so they bring in a lot of third world people. So that was the thing. Now, if anyone's in any doubt that we're being replaced, you need no longer be in doubt. We are being replaced. White people are being replaced, and we're being and the people that are the useful fools in replacing us are themselves nearly all white, mostly straight white males. So this idea that if we have people who are, and I think we should still do this, have people who are sort of, locally born white folks, that type of thing, that they'll be more amenable to representing the local white people. No, forget it. We're being sold out by straight white men. Now they're being richly rewarded for their their assistance to the globalists. They'll all be getting their waterfront properties, and their children will all be given, cozy jobs in big consulting firms and that sort of thing. They'll be well looked after. And these people can't be thinking too far ahead. When the country is minority and very much minority white, where white people will be fewer in number than the Indian or the Chinese sort of diasporas, then what do you think is going to happen to white people then? What's going to happen to your children, grandchildren? What will they do when that situation is here? Which it's fast, it's the oncoming train hurtling towards us, but that's where it's at. So anyway, that was my observations going to town. It was into the city. It was pretty much the same on the way back, and not quite as bad though. And I went at a different time. It wasn't peak hour, so. But that's it. So yeah, 20% at the most of the people at the most were white, and the rest were all brown. And again, very low quality brown and black people. We're not talking, upper class or well educated. Far from it. We're talking illiterate, midget peasants with health issues. And there was just a plethora of them everywhere you looked. You've been Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for listening.